Hello, welcome to the Truer podcast. I am Katrina Slade, the host of this podcast. I am a holistic intuition teacher, and I am here to support you through your becoming journey. The other day, I was talking to someone and I realized I had to count back on my fingers how many months it's been since I moved here to British Columbia from the West. Well, I moved to the West Coast from the East Coast of Canada. I moved all the way across the country and I called it my harmonious relocation. And really, it's been over 6 months now since I manifested my dream relocation. And I know I've talked about that in past episodes, but I thought I would give an update because I think there's a lot here for us, not just for me, but for you too. So stay till the end because there are some post eclipse reflections that I'd like to share with you based on what I've been feeling and sensing. Let's start at the beginning, which is why I wanted to move, why I felt so called to initiate this harmonious relocation, my dream relocation. And it's because I don't know if I've shared this a lot on the podcast, but I was living in New Brunswick and fate just happened to take me to live directly on top of my Chiron line. Let me explain what this means. So, in astrology, when we're born, we have our birth chart, and that also applies to locations around the world. There's lines around the world based on the transits of when we were born. And Chiron is known as an archetype of the wounded healer. So it brings up your deepest wounds for your soul's opportunity to grow, to heal and to grow. And it leads you to, I should say, it brings up your soul curriculum, all of these challenges that your soul chose to experience in this lifetime. It brings up these themes, it brings up a lot of your shadows that you've been trying to ignore. It brings up a lot of difficult energy, not because, oh, Chiron's bad or whatever, but it's the wounded healer. So it leads you to your deepest healing if you are willing to be brave and to face what the themes are for you. But it's different for everybody, right? So for me, I didn't realize that until maybe halfway through living there. I was living on the most challenging line you can live on, honestly. And I really felt it. So I constantly was disappointed in like anything I was trying to initiate, anything in my relationships and my business. I was just always disappointed with outcomes, constantly disappointed in life. And that's not an easy thing to cope with for 8 years. I was noticing there was repeating patterns. So for me, I think there's been a wound with like money, I don't know, finance stuff. And every time I did a job, like I taught courses at the local craft college, I taught at the local art museum back when I was more of a full-time artist. I was doing jobs, and every time it came down to getting paid, the pay would get delayed, sometimes for months. I think there was a pay that was delayed like months and months and months, and I kept following up. I kept following up. But all of these repeating patterns and all of these extenuating circumstances that didn't make any sense, but it was all repeating for me to see, oh, this is coming up for a reason, right? So think about your life. What challenges have kept coming up and coming up? They might seem unrelated, but there might be a thread connecting them. And it could be your Chiron energy. Even if you don't live on your Chiron line, your Chiron energy impacts you at different times based on the transits and all of that. But imagine like living constantly disappointed, constantly I felt like I was struggling. Like I was constantly in this state of struggle, which is not fun. And my body started having issues. Like I started getting disease, endometriosis. I've talked about it before. I started getting like health emergencies. I had to go to the ER 4 times because I was in so much pain. So all of these challenges kept coming up. And after a while, I knew I wanted to leave because it's not my home. We just, destiny just brought us there after my husband and I lived overseas for many years. And I knew that this is not for me. This place is not for me. It's my biggest teacher. So now I can look back and have a little bit of gratitude for those lessons, although it might take me more time to feel fully grateful for those lessons. But I have gratitude for what it was bringing up for me because I totally transformed. The person I was before I lived in New Brunswick and the person I was at the end of living in New Brunswick, totally different. Totally. I went through a spiritual awakening. I woke up to my soul gifts. I started serving in a way that is very meaningful to support others. I have gone through a lot of feminine healing, feminine wound healing. There's so much that I can be grateful for, but it's hard. When you've been burned by an ex and you're like, oh, that was terrible. like, your heart is hurt and bruised and battered. And it's hard to be like, oh, I'll just forgive and forget, or, oh, I'm just grateful for that time. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned. I do feel that way, but I'm still getting there fully. Can you relate? So I wanted to share why I wanted to relocate because I wonder if any of this resonates with you. I wonder if any of you feel like the place I'm living, or maybe it's not the place, maybe it's this aspect of my life is feeling very restricting. It's actually putting pressure on me. And it's like I'm moving my body. If you're not watching the video version of this, I'm moving my arms like I'm trying to break out of restraints. I felt like the universe put restraints on me and I had to stretch myself and break out of that. But it was all in divine order. It was all meant to be. Why, out of all of the places within Canada we could have moved, did my husband get a job in New Brunswick? Exactly on my Chiron line. He was also up for a job in Alberta and he didn't get that one. So, you know, that's a very different part of the country. So it all lined up, honestly, to bring me to that place. There were a lot of blessings about living there, but those were the challenges that I was ready to move away from, literally and physically. I was ready to move on. I didn't need constant lessons anymore. I was ready to expand myself. So we did this amazing manifesting practice. I think I talked about it in a previous episode, but people have been asking me about it. So maybe I'll go into a deeper dive in a future episode. Is that something you guys would like? Because it has been working like crazy. I mean, I'll just share quickly now, but I do think I want to go in a deeper dive. But I'm looking out my window because it's just full of trees. Like my view is just 100% trees in the forest. And that was what I was manifesting. I was manifesting that. I saw that vision for myself back when I was feeling like I was always struggling in New Brunswick. I saw that. I thought, I'm going to move to the West. I don't know where. Is it going to be on Vancouver Island? Is it going to be in the Vancouver City metro area? I don't know, but I know I'm going to be on the West Coast of Canada. And I just held on to this vision of me looking out my windows and seeing just trees and feeling that sense of peace that you get when you're in nature and feeling like grounded and good. So I was really connecting to that, and here I am, and that's what reality I have created for myself, and it is so amazing. So let me share my current reality a little bit more. I want to share the update. The update after 6 months of manifesting my dream relocation. Oh, wow. I just got a huge like pulse of tingles on my scalp all over. Wow. Oh, I think I just saw an eagle out the window right when I said that. Interesting. So 6 months after moving here, I feel like my life has been a warp speed. Everything feels different. Like I said, in the 8 years of living in New Brunswick, I completely changed as a person. And I feel like in the 6 months I've been here now in British Columbia, I'm a completely different person again. There's been so many inner shifts, and it's been reflecting in my outer world. And now that I'm free from that shadow, those restrictions, I'm actually seeing like that vision I was kind of sharing about feeling I was bound by like ropes restricting me or like walls pressing me in like smaller and smaller, crushing me. I felt that, and now I don't. So isn't that interesting? Once you remove that element from your life, or you graduate from learning all those hard lessons and then you can move forward, it's like you can quantum leap in a way, or you can expand and grow out of that. And I'm so grateful that I get to be here saying this to you. So, some of the things that I noticed, it's currently March, and in New Brunswick, it's still winter. But here, I didn't have seasonal depression, and I had it pretty intensely for 8 years. So, that's one of the things. Actually, I should say it's like a way I created a boundary to love myself. I decided I'm not willing to live like that anymore. That was one of the things I had to tell my husband to convince him that this is going to be the right move for us, moving across the country, because I'm not willing to live 6 months of my life with seasonal depression. And then it takes you a few months to get over it. And then by the time you're over it, anyway, it was not fun. So I noticed I don't have that here because it doesn't snow very much, barely ever snowed at all this whole season. And I can go outside all the time and be in nature, be in the sunlight, and be comfortable, not freezing my brain off. No offense to New Brunswick, but if I tried to go on walks in the winter, I would get brain freeze just from standing outside, even if I was moving my body. So I noticed I didn't get seasonal depression this winter, and that's been such a relief. I'm so grateful for that. And actually, every time I go on walks, I don't do it every day, but I go multiple times a week in the park next door, hence all the trees in my view. Every time I go there, I feel such a surge of gratitude. It's like, thank you. Thank you to the universe for bringing me here. Thank you to the land for being here. And I just am so overwhelmed with gratitude, and I haven't gotten over it yet. It doesn't feel mundane yet. You know how like you get used to things in your life, and what was once really new and novel and exciting, I don't feel that way yet. After 6 months of being here, I still feel overjoyed that I get to be here. I get to live in my dream location. I get to live my dream life. I get to create that here because I was brave enough to leave that challenging energy. So, how does this apply to you? What's been really challenging you lately? I'm not advocating just leave and forget your problems, but I did a lot of working through the shadows, a lot of shadow work, a lot of inner growth, a lot of spiritual development, soul growth that led me to be able to make that move at the right time, because I wanted to move like 3 years earlier. And my husband said, no, not the right time. And I had to wait and I had to wait. for what felt like the right time. And finally, it happened. Yay. Okay, so my current reality. I also noticed once I moved here, I started meeting really aligned people, like crazy aligned. It was so much easier to meet people that felt like I loved talking to them. I didn't want to stop talking to them. We have so much in common. We have so many similar interests. We're so aligned, right? And this is has been very beneficial for my personal life, for like friends, and in my professional life. There's been a lot of collaborations people I've connected with, places I've connected with that has been really rewarding and incredible. I've spent years in New Brunswick trying to find the right people, and I never felt clicking with that many people, I should say. Of course, I clicked with a few, but I never felt aligned, let's just say. So I'm so grateful that that's been happening for me. And I've noticed that my skills have been up leveling. So with my private clients, when I'm meeting with them, I'm noticing that I have more. I think my capacity has expanded for like tapping in and almost channeling. I wouldn't say I'm channeling, but I'm tapping into something and I'm being guided from some intelligence that's helping me guide them through their healing journey. So each session I do with my private clients is very healing. There's this deep inner energy, healing, recalibration, energy activation. Each one's kind of unique, right? But I notice I'm getting better at it, and my clients are starting to see almost like immediate results. And it's been really wonderful to see that oh, my abilities are up leveling. My capacity to be of service is up leveling. And I'm so grateful for that. Okay, the number one thing that has happened in the last month has been a huge inner shift for me. And that is, I have somehow been able to finally release deep shame related to sexuality, intimacy, and I've been able to awaken and almost become more alive inside. And that's affecting so many areas of my life. Just in the past month, it's been crazy. I feel more powerful and I feel more alive and I feel more inspired. And I'm just like giddy with the possibilities of where this is going to lead. So I feel like 6 months in, I'm just getting started because it took me a while to move. When you let go of an old energies or old identities, you don't realize how you're kind of programmed to perpetuate them until you deprogram. So once I first arrived, I was sort of like perpetuating my old hustling mentality, my whole trying and efforting and striving habits, or I should say behaviors. And I got burned out. But since then, I've become aware of that. So I wouldn't say 6 months in, I have created my absolute dream life because I'm becoming the person. I'm becoming true, right? That's the name of my business. I am becoming the version of me who is ready for that. And it feels really good. So let me ask you some questions because we've recently had the eclipse season, the eclipse cycle for spring. It happens every spring and every fall, twice a year. But we just had this spring eclipse season, and that brings up a lot for us, a lot of old memories or old wounds or old identities that need to be shed, need to be released. Um, karmic completion. So you might have come to a completion in some aspect of your life. For me, I felt like it was shame. Like I was finally like, ugh, I'm done with you. I just had to feel it. I had to really feel and process. And then it was like a flip had switched. And I'm suddenly so much more free. I feel so much more liberated because I was brave enough to sit with it and feel it and honor it, the shame that I had been carrying. And I know we all, look, this is a human thing. We all have fear, guilt, and shame. These are the shadows of the lower chakras. Fear is the shadow of the root chakra. So our root chakra is related to, trusting in our life path, trusting that we will be taken care of, our foundation, feeling like we are supported, like we have stability. So there's fear as the shadow of the root chakra. It's a very common wounding that people are working through in their lives. Fear of the unknown, fear of what's to come. This is like anxiety, right? When you're anxious, you're experiencing like a overactive root chakra, I would say. And guilt is the shadow of the sacral chakra. So that's in our womb spaces, in our lower abdomen, our pelvic area. And guilt, I had to work through a lot of guilt since I moved to Canada. I mean, I used to feel guilty if I rested. And I know some of you resonate with that. In fact, a lot of you probably resonate with that because this is a very common feminine wounding. We feel guilty that we don't have the constant energy that the men in our lives have because they have a 24-hour hormone cycle and they feel generally the same every day. Whereas we have a vastly different hormone cycle, of course, and we don't feel the same every day. We have phases of our cycle. We feel up, we feel down, we have more energy, we have less energy. And that's how we are meant to be. That is biological. It's our body is designed in that way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like saying your eyes were designed to see. So if you're seeing, nothing to feel guilty about. Your body was designed to have ebbs and flows, to have different seasons throughout your cycle. So that's another tangent. I could go on forever, but that's an example of how guilt can show up in your life. So have fear and guilt been like those forces that are causing you restriction in your life, causing you to feel caged in and not able to stretch outside of your current capacity? Now, the other one is shame. That's the shadow of the solar plexus chakra, which is in your upper abdomen, below your rib cage. Shame. We all have it, especially about sex or about identity issues or about things from childhood. So, how might these be limiting you, these shadows? Or I should say, or I could say, what has been brought up from these eclipses? So it's almost like the bottom of the ocean is getting dredged, like things from old subconscious, old material is getting dredged up to the top to be seen. So, what has that been for you? Because it's happening for a reason. And if you can work through it, you will grow and be more free. You don't have to carry that forever. So that's something to consider. Another way the eclipse energy might be affecting you is you might be feeling an inner calling towards something that's out of your comfort zone. Like for me, I feel called to do more storytelling instead of just being a channel for the Akashic records, to do more sharing about my experience so that I can support others in a way that's more impactful. storytelling and stories can be very impactful. And I noticed that from people I like to learn from and watch. So it's been hard getting out of my comfort zone and saying, okay, I'm safe to share and let myself be seen. This has been a big shadow for me that I've been working through. How has that been showing up for you? What do you feel drawn towards or called to that's out of your comfort zone? And how might that be your soul's destiny? How might that be your soul calling you? What would that look like if you answered the call? What's the worst that could happen? For me, the worst that could happen is someone judges me. Oh, well, people are going to judge me no matter what. Of course, I don't want people to judge me, but that's just a human thing. People will judge you. So if you're watching this and you're judging me, oh, well, it's okay. It's going to be fine. If you're judging me, I love you. I try to be loving to everybody. Honestly, I'm not just being silly with that. I mean it. Okay, so I feel called to do a card reading about this, and I'm going to do a card reading. I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel, and it's going to be answering the question, what haven't you yet seen? That doesn't sound correct grammatically. What have you not yet seen that your soul is calling you to see? So this is sort of like a follow-up to the energy from the eclipse season. So if you're interested in that, go to my YouTube channel and you'll get to see that card reading. And thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear from you. If anything was sparked within you from hearing this conversation, please let me know. Bye.
One more thing. I just want to tell you, I love you, and I'm proud of you for doing the inner work, for showing up, and for choosing a truer life. If this episode resonated with you, if it helped you access a deeper truth within yourself, then please share it with someone you love, because the world needs more of us living our truer lives. This has been a Truer Media production. The Truer podcast is created and produced by me, Katrina Slade. Music by Frequently Asked Music. Wordmark by Annika Samples of Incandescent Creative. Cover photography by Lucinda Richard. Time for the really short legal talk. This podcast is presented solely for educational purposes. I am your soul sister. I am a spiritual guide, but I am not a licensed physician, psychologist, or other qualified medical professional. I hope to see you again.